Hi, this is Pratima and you are watching Planet Physiology. I received request from audience to create a video on cardiac output, and so here is first part of it. We already know that ventricles receive blood during diastole and ejects the same during systole. This quantity of blood ejected by the heart is cardiac output. In this part, we will be covering definitions and normal values of cardiac output, stroke volume and cardiac index, distribution and variations in cardiac output, and finally its measurement. So let's begin with the definition of cardiac output. Cardiac output is defined as the amount of blood pumped by each ventricle per minute. Its normal value is about 5 liters per minute. Since cardiac output is usually expressed as the volume per minute, it is also called as minute volume. Cardiac output is determined by two factors, stroke volume and heart rate. Stroke volume is the amount of blood pumped by each ventricle per beat, and its normal value is 70 ml. If we consider normal heart rate as 70 beats per minute, then cardiac output becomes 70 into 70, that is 4900 ml per minute, or approximately 5 liters per minute. To standardize and compare the value of cardiac output among the individuals with different body sizes, cardiac output is expressed in terms of body surface area. It is called as cardiac index. So, cardiac index is the amount of blood pumped by each ventricle per minute per square meter body surface area. For a normal reference man, body surface area is 1.7 square meter. Hence, cardiac index is about 3 liters per minute per square meter. Another terminology to remember here is ejection fraction. We have already studied this in cardiac cycle, but let us quickly revise it. It is the percentage of end diastolic volume ejected by the ventricle during each contraction. Normally, ejection fraction is about 65% and is considered as an index of myocardial performance. Hence, cardiologists routinely assess it by echocardiography. Now let us see how this cardiac output is distributed amongst the various organs of the body. In general, vital organs receive 70 to 75% of the cardiac output, and remaining is distributed to other tissues like skeletal muscle, skin, GIT, etc. In this table, fraction of cardiac output delivered to each organ is given in terms of percentage of cardiac output, then in ml per minute, and also in ml per minute per 100 gram of the tissue. Values in terms of per 100 gram of the tissue help to compare blood flow to various organs irrespective of their sizes. What you can remember here is maximum fraction of cardiac output is delivered to the kidneys. Liver receives only 6% of the cardiac output from hepatic artery, but 21% from the portal vein, and hence the total flow to the liver is high. Now let us study variations in cardiac output. We shall begin with physiological conditions, that is normal situations which tend to increase cardiac output. First is age. Cardiac output is more in adults than that of children and elderly population. An important reason for this include difference in the metabolism, surface area and blood volume. Cardiac output is higher in males than females by 10%, and this is mainly due to higher body surface area in males. During exercise, cardiac output increases to 25 liters due to increased metabolic demands. It is achieved by sympathetic stimulation, which increases heart rate and force of contraction. Maximum percentage that the cardiac output can increase above normal is called as cardiac reserve. It is up to 400% in normal healthy young adult, but can be up to 600% in trained athletes. Increase in cardiac output during exercise is achieved by increasing both heart rate and venous return and thereby the stroke volume. Details you will get in my video on cardiorespiratory changes during exercise. I'll leave the link for the same in the description box below. Meals can increase cardiac output by 30% due to increased metabolism. Emotions like anxiety and excitement increase sympathetic stimulation and hence the cardiac output by 50 to 100%. Cardiac output also shows diurnal variations with higher values in the evening. Pregnancy, especially third trimester, increases cardiac output due to increased metabolism and blood volume. High environmental temperature also leads to increase in cardiac output. Now let us study some pathological conditions which increase cardiac output. First is anemia. In anemic persons, to maintain normal oxygen supply to the tissues, cardiac output is elevated. Next, in hyperthyroidism, excess thyroid hormones increase general metabolism of the body and to supply required oxygen, cardiac output increases. Thyroid hormones also have direct positive effects on SA node conducting system as well as myocardial contractility. Hence, they increase stroke volume as well as heart rate and hence the cardiac output. In beriberi, cardiac output is increased due to lesser peripheral resistance. And in case of arteriovenous shunt, venous return is elevated leading to increase in the cardiac output. Now let us study physiological conditions which decrease cardiac output. First is change in posture from supine to standing. It decreases cardiac output by 20 to 30%. This is momentary change due to decreased venous return because of gravity. Within seconds, it is corrected back to normal by activation of baroreceptor reflex. In old age, due to decreased metabolism, cardiac output is low. Children have lesser cardiac output despite of their higher metabolic demands. This is due to lower surface area and lesser blood volume. Their myocardial contractility is also low. So this graph represents relationship between age and the cardiac output. You can see in children cardiac output is low. It increases to its maximum in adult life and then gradually it decreases. Excessive sweating decreases blood volume and hence the cardiac output. Pathological decrease in blood volume, as in case of hypovolemic shock, decreases cardiac output. In arrhythmias like excessive tachycardia, diastolic filling time is shortened and hence the stroke volume is low. This decreases cardiac output. Myocardial infarction weakens muscle strength and hence reduces stroke volume and cardiac output. Hypothyroidism decreases heart rate, stroke volume as well as body metabolism, and all these factors reduce cardiac output. Then the conditions like sleep and moderate alterations in environmental temperature do not affect cardiac output. It remains same. Here is a summary how cardiac output changes in various pathological conditions. Black line indicates regulation of cardiac output to its normal value in young adults, whereas red line indicates cardiac output control in average 45 years old adult. The bars above black line indicate regulation above the normal and represent higher value of cardiac output, as in case of beriberi, AV shunt, anemia, etc. The bars below the line indicate decrease in cardiac output, as in case of myocardial infarction, shock and valvular diseases. Now let us move on to the measurement of cardiac output. Cardiac output can be measured by direct methods using various flow meters or by Doppler echocardiography. Indirectly, it can be measured by using fixed principle, indicator dilution, ballistocardiography, echocardiography and pulse pressure method. Now coming to the direct methods. Flow meters can be electromagnetic or ultrasonic flow meter. They are usually placed in ascending aorta and record flow rate as indicated here. Cardiac output is accordingly measured from this record. Now coming to the most important indirect method, fixed principle. This is often asked in exams as a part of essay question on cardiac output. Fixed principle states that the amount of substance taken up by an organ in unit time is equal to the difference in the arteriovenous concentration of the substance times the blood flow. The same statement is written here in the form of mathematical equation. Since we need to calculate blood flow to the entire body, that is, we need to calculate cardiac output, the formula is rearranged as blood flow equal to the amount of substance consumed divided by arteriovenous difference. To measure cardiac output, substance used is oxygen because this is only substance which entire body will be consuming. Now let us see procedure in brief. With the help of spirometer, we find out the amount of oxygen consumed by the body in a minute. We measure arterial oxygen level by taking samples from any convenient artery. Venous sample is collected from pulmonary artery by inserting a catheter from hand vein and passing it till the pulmonary artery. Collecting venous sample from pulmonary artery is must because this is the place where deoxygenated blood from the entire body is entering. Now substitute these values in the formula and then you can calculate cardiac output. Advantages of fixed method are: it is accurate method and does not require injection of any foreign substance. But the disadvantages are: it needs hospitalization and expertise for catheterization. Simultaneous measurement of oxygen consumption is necessary and the method is difficult to perform in ambulatory patients or while performing exercise. Next indirect method is indicator dilution method. It is based on the principle that known volume of indicator is injected into the circulation and the concentration of the indicator is measured in serial samples of arterial blood. Cardiac output is measured by dividing the amount of indicator injected by the average concentration of indicator in the arterial sample after single circulation through heart. To measure cardiac output, indicator used is Evans blue dye, which is also called as endocyanin green or cardiogreen or T1H24. This dye is selected because it stays in circulation during the test, it does not have any harmful effect on the body, it does not alter cardiac output or hemodynamics on its own, and it is easily measured. Now let us see procedure in brief. Known volume of dye is injected in the vein. It passes through the heart and enters the artery. Blood samples are collected from the artery at every 2 seconds interval. The dye concentration in each sample is plotted and its average concentration is calculated. The values are substituted in the formula to calculate cardiac output. This graph indicates changes in the dye concentration over the period of time. The blue line indicates injection of dye. Immediately after the dye is injected, it is not detected at all for some time, and then its concentration rises to reach the peak. Then the dye concentration begins to fall, and before it reaches to zero level, once again concentration begins to rise. This is due to beginning of second circulation of the dye. From the graph, this descending arm is extrapolated till the baseline and area under the curve is calculated to find out average concentration of dye during single circulation. This is also accurate method and can be performed even in exercising persons. It does not involve cardiac catheterization. The next indirect method is thermodilution. Its principle is same as that of indicator dilution. The only difference is that in this case, instead of dye, cold saline is used. So cardiac catheter is inserted till the pulmonary artery. Cold saline of a specific temperature is injected in the right atrium and blood temperature is recorded by the transducer placed in the pulmonary artery. Changes in the blood temperature are inversely related to the amount of blood flow. Thermodilution method is harmless method as no foreign substance is injected into the blood. Saline is non-toxic and heat dissipates in the tissue within short time interval, and so there is no question of recirculation. Hence thermodilution method is preferred over dye dilution method. Next is echocardiography with ultrasonic Doppler method. This is non-invasive, safe, painless method for measuring cardiac output. It is routinely performed in cardiology department as outpatient procedure. It not only gives ejection fraction but also assesses condition of cardiac muscles and the valves. The last method of cardiac output measurement is ballistocardiography. In this case, the transducer converts the vibrations generated by the heartbeats into waveforms. From these waveforms, the software analyzes and calculates cardiac output, but this is not accurate method. Here we finish with the first part of cardiac output. In the second part, we shall study about regulation of cardiac output. So see you in the second part. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy my presentations, press the like button and share it with your friends. For more such videos, subscribe my channel and click the bell icon. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.